Hey everybody, Dave here with another Pathfinder rule reminder for you, and this time we are talking about the term attended object or unattended object and what those terms mean. You'll see these pop up through the rule books fairly frequently, especially in the spells chapter, where it might say that the target of the spell can be one unattended object. And there's really no place in the book that very clearly says and defines what is meant by a quote attended object or an unattended object. The only guidance that it gives you is it says that an attended object is one that is on a creature's person. So anything that a character has in their possession is an attended object. In fact, Pathfinder 1st edition also didn't do a great job of defining it, but they did give a little bit more information and said that an attended object is any object that is grabbed, held, worn, or wielded. So again, an object on a person. So if it is something that a person is holding, then it is attended. If it's a sword in a sheath hanging from a person's belt, it is attended. If it is in a backpack, it is both stored and attended. So really, anything to do on a person is attended. An unattended object is a plate sitting on a table. There's no creature that is interacting with that plate. So it is unattended. And again, you'll see these terms pop up a lot in spells. So for example, a telekinetic projectile can be used to lift an unattended object and fling it as a projectile weapon. So you could use that to pick up a rock on the ground or a glass shard from a broken window because those are unattended. But you could not use telekinetic projectile to pull an arrow out of an enemy's quiver and use that arrow as your telekinetic projectile. At least not by Raw, but again, Raw is always just a starting point of the conversation, and if the GM says, hey, that sounds cool, let's do that, then by all means you can. Another place that I see this come up, at least in my game, is with Dispel Magic. So Dispel Magic can be used on an unattended object. So my players get into an encounter with a big bad evil guy who's clearly wielding, a magical great sword in his hands, and the wizard's like, well, I want to use Dispel Magic and nullify that sword. By Raw, you can't do that because if the person is holding this sword, or even if the sword is sheathed or stood on their bodies, it's an attended object, not an unattended object. Therefore, you wouldn't be able to cast Dispel Magic on it. That said, in my games, I have allowed my players to do that when I felt that it was particularly cinematic for them to do so. But you definitely don't want to just completely do away with the idea of limiting certain effects to unattended objects, because that opens all kinds of avenues for breaking the game really fast. The rule is there for a reason. One last place where you'll see unattended objects creep up is with regards to area effect damage, which I've mentioned in a previous rule reminder video. But any area effect damage, so your fireballs, your burning hands, and so forth, those by default do not do damage to the environment around them. But in the description for what area effect means, there is a sentence that says the GM determines any damage done to unattended objects. So in those cases, if you want to say the room catches on fire, or discarded papers on the floor are damaged, or a book or whatever, those are unattended objects, so the GM is allowed to make a call, but they really don't want fireballs to do damage to attended objects, because the game assumes all encounters are balanced for a party that has all of their gear, and if a dragon's fire breath or a fireball destroys all of the attended objects, all of the gear a character is carrying, then that grossly disbalances the encounters the way they're written. As always, I will leave links to relevant other video topics in the description. If you have any suggestions for future rule reminders, please let me know in the comments. And as always, I want to thank everybody who supports me, whether it's through the Patreon or clicking the like button, subscribing to this channel, or just leaving a comment. Every comment helps the algorithm from YouTube find these videos, so anything that you leave there is appreciated. And as always, thank you very much for watching, take care, and happy gaming!